Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Breakfast Bankroll for Tuesday, April 2nd. 2024, our weekly spot with CXO Travis Geiger from WagerWire. You all survived March Madness, you survived Easter, and of course, you survived April Fool's. And talking to Travis backstage, it was not a quiet April Fool's Day on social media. It's almost like every day seems like April Fool's out there. What to believe, what not to believe. But super stoked and excited, as you know, it's early, the crack of dawn in California, but we got that East Coast, West Coast flair going for you guys as always here on Tuesdays. But first and foremost, a shout out to, of course, our proud sponsor and partnership with WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app by now, I don't know what you guys are waiting for. I don't. Run on over to Google Play, Action Play, wherever you download these apps, that logo right there in the top left corner. Download it today. That's your homework assignment for me at ECSI. An amazing app. Get to know the app. Scroll down to the bottom. Take a look at all the sports books, casinos that are available in your state. Download them. Why? They give you a match play, free promos, et cetera. Free wages, free plays. It allows you to window shop. It allows you to get the best price. And it now starts to allow you to keep track of your wagers, your investments, as we like to say here at East Coast Sports Investors. And if you're looking for a little flash cash and you want to join this amazing team, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. The team of Travis, Zach, Matt, the rest of this team, the best in the business. And if you're not a part of us now, shame on you. Jump on board, because we're going to do laps around you in 2024, never mind 2025 and 26. So without further ado, let's bring in the star of this show, the one and only Mr. Travis Geiger.
Morning, Mr. Dawson.
Good morning, Travis. How are you?
I'm great. And happy April 2nd.
Happy April 2nd. You know, I hope you didn't have too big of a sugar buzz. You know, I have a good friend that is one of those Pez guys, those things of, full of sugar. And, after 3 packs of them, he's running around like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah, I love a good Pez. I also like Smarties. I don't know if you like Smarties.
I'm a big fan, big fan. The wife got 3 baskets of chocolates and all kinds of stuff for me and my 2 daughters. Mine's empty. I get those late night munchies. I'm like sleepwalking. So shame on me, but it's empty. So I have nowhere else to go.
Oh man.
So we talked about April Fool's Day. We
Yeah.
talked backstage about social media. We talked about Photoshop, what to believe and what not to believe. I like to be the voice of reason. I'm the elder statesman in this group. I'm the educator with the slight entertainment degree. But what to believe or not to believe? And I'm going to throw it over to you.
Yeah. Well, let's throw an interesting story up on the screen here, Jeff. This is a Macau bettor named Lucky Dragon after the Chinese New Year who had a crazy 6-leg parlay, one home run, one Otani home run away from cashing in Hong Kong dollars, which translates to $4.5 million. It was a crazy run. He had like a Zach Eady, over 30 points. He hit 44 points in the Elite Eight. He had, 4 first baskets over here. You can see the translation. It ended with Otani needed to hit a home run last night, and he didn't. So we found this on tmzchina.com. This crazy story about this, Macau mega parlay. The only problem, Jeff, is that this story is completely fake. We made this bet slip on Photoshop. We bought tmzchina.com, used GPT to stand up a fake story. We made some fake banner ads. This entire thing is a ruse. And I hope there's objectively funny elements to it. I think somebody pledging their betting winnings to pay off somebody's gambling debt, for me, is objectively funny. Lucky Dragon after the Chinese New Year is objectively funny. MLB scandals can be objectively funny, but it raises some ethical questions, as you know, Jeff, as we were talking about backstage. How can we be sure that anything that we're seeing on the internet is actually true, especially in the context of sports betting, when, as you know, people use these bets like cachet, like social currency, where they can say, hey, look at me, I'm hitting all the time, when in reality, it took our intern 45 minutes to stand up pretty much. You can't tell the difference between the bet that they made on Photoshop for American books and the actual book slips themselves. We went offshore because actually we freaked ourselves out when we started making bet slips for people that some people were actually partnered with, which was another part of it. But making a Chinese one, you really can't tell the difference. But this could have been a FanDuel slip, a DraftKings slip, a Hard Rock slip. It could have been any slip. So what we wanted to hopefully reveal, the truth in our comedy, was the need for what WagerWire does, which we can actually help you. And we calc this out. We actually used real odds. It calced out to about $100,000 US before the home run leg. With WagerWire, you can actually sync your bets to WagerWire. We verify them. We look at the account back end. We can see that, yes, this is a real bet, which is going to be important for when we stand up our marketplace, as you know. But in the lack of that kind of transparency, you can get all kinds of crazy stuff. And you're just one GoDaddy domain and a little bit of GPT and our intern Jacob shout out away from just creating what's entirely fake news. So yeah, we concocted this story from scratch. I'll just pause here. And Jeff, in your opinion, how often are fake bet slips and fake betting stories going around?
It's like breathing in my eyes. In other words, I'm going to take it a step further. Marketing, advertising dollars used to be you went on radio, you went on TV, however you could get your name and your brand out there. Now, in today's world and society, it's all about social media. You don't have to run to your local TV store, TV network. If you need something in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, you guys just pick up the phone and you call me or you send me a text. Hey, Jeff, can you run over to XYZ? We could use a couple photos there. Or you just hit Google and then you download the images that you're looking for. The sports books. How did they get their free advertising and free publicity not too long ago? When the prop market was just starting to boom, let's just say LeBron James, who's always a big lightning rod for most days on props. He goes out there and in the first 2 minutes twists his ankle. Patrick Mahomes twists his knee. They're out for the rest of the games. So here comes the uproar on social media. So what is a DraftKings, a FanDuel? What are one of these big sports books do? All props with LeBron James, all props with Mahomes will be refunded. So again, any way to attract the consumer to get the eyes on the prize. And you talked about impressions, where we're going to go in a minute. 500,000 impressions on a slip, which you and I talked about and we sniffed out. Listen, if anyone knows UConn, it's me. And never mind, you went back with your graphs. You can go all the way back. There was no
Yeah.
numbers like that.
Yeah. So let's take a look at that, right? Because what we're talking about right here was this slip. All right, we're going to call it out where we call it out, because this slip was posted by BR Betting last night, and they did it with a straight face. As you guys know, BR Betting posts slips all the time. This was not part of our April Fools, but it actually exhibited the exact need that we were kind of spotlighting, which is, let's zoom into this slip. All right, it's a parlay. Connecticut women to win plus 500, Connecticut men to win plus 2,200. We can look at the date that this was placed in a second, but tell me, Jeff, why you think that this is an impossible slip.
Well, it's an impossible slip because I think you pulled up that the date was November 8th. So they come out.
This is November 8th, and this is a guy emphatic. Hey, effing losers. He's in the comments, right? This is a guy who's different than the person being tagged by BR, who's coming in with what they say is an original slip that's now dated down here. If you zoom in, you can start to see some of the hallmarks of Photoshop, but let's look at the actual data itself, why this is impossible.
You have they roll out the balls. The season officially begins on November 1st, but sometime early in the fall, they'll come out with their preseason favorites. UConn was the defending champs in men's basketball. The UConn women with Paige Beckers, a good team, not a South Carolina, not an LSU, not a Caitlin Clark, but a very well-respected team in the market. I can tell you two things. There was nowhere I found, and if this guy found it, I'd like to have known that UConn was plus 2,200. They were the defending champs. They were a top 5 team. Maybe if you had plus 1,100 or 1,200, I could respect the number. For the women who started 7-4, but again, this was 1 week into the season. So what did they have? 2 games, maybe 1 game already in. So if it was flip-flopped and they said they got the UConn women at 2,200 and the men's at plus 500, I might believe it. But for me, I call foul here.
We call foul too. Yeah. And like you said, we checked out our graph when like you could even get 2,200 on the men's. Even if you roll it all the way back to around the time he's saying, it never really got that low. Now, the problem with this, the lie makes its way around the world before the truth can put its pants on. I mean, we only had our damage was minimal over here, 66.4 thousand impressions on our main post. But someone like a BR, who's an arbiter of truth, or at least vetting, they got almost 250,000 impressions, right? We call it out in the comments. We get 10,000. So, 1 out of every 20 people is maybe seeing the dispute. Like I said, we dropped the graph. But if you go into the comments here, by the way, this is on Instagram too. A lot of these people are wondering, like, yeah, bro, at least try to make your Photoshop believable. When was UConn 23-1? Fake ticket. Unlikely. No. Intern getting fired. They've done it before. April Fools, or should these odds be flipped? Like, this is a real problem, right? Because they're sourcing these slips. The more sensational, the better, as evidenced by Mr. Dragon's bet. Like, these are all the tropes that we were playing on, but because truth is stranger than fiction right now, it started playing out in real time in front of our eyes. So you told me before, like, what's stopping a tout from just placing? Let's say there's the Photoshop, set it over here. Let's say this is the rare instance. I actually think that Bleacher Report got duped, that they forgot to look at the calendar, and in the process of doing their daily kind of routine of picking up bets, somebody slid one past the goalie. But let's talk about the other side of it, which is the touts that only post their winnings. What would stop someone from placing both sides of a crazy bet and just only posting their wins?
Oh, 1,000%. You in our businesses, you can set up accounts where you place wagers, but it's just fake money. The account set up, and so I'll go place $100,000 last night on Caitlin Clark in Iowa -2.5, and then I'll go place $100,000 on LSU +2.5. And at the end of the game, Iowa won by 7, I think it was. So then I put the ticket up there as it's graded, Iowa -2.5 plus 100,000. And most people in our lanes that have been here long enough either know people with sites or have their own sites that can just do that. And we talked about this a lot of times on social media. The so-called experts or the respected money, some people like to show and flaunt their slips. Here's my winning slips, I just won 10,000. Here's my winning slip, I just won 25,000. Where's your losing slips? I don't need to show you my losing slips. So again, it becomes who's the biggest horse in town, I should say.
Who's the biggest horse in town? That's a good way to put it. So just to bring it back to why I think WagerWire is interesting, like on WagerWire, you can see you and your friends' statistics right there. You can see the win-loss record. You can see their actual bet slips. Like I said, they're all verified by us on the back end with the sports books. So we're kind of a little bit of a BS detector that I think in this new landscape, is going to be something that's pretty crucial. I think everyone, if they want to, they can go to the WagerWire app right now. You can also see leaderboards. You can sync all of your bet slips and everything else like that. So one of the things I thought was interesting is the reason why the internet is so awash in these bet slips is because the sports books themselves were slow to kind of roll out the social features, the linking features, the share features that would make you really want to share that slip or able to share that slip from inside the book. What we're working on with our partners and something we have is an actual deep link where the link itself will show you the slip, and that slip will actually take you to the bet. On WagerWire, it'll be a bet or an entry that's for sale, or it'll be, to place it yourself at the book of origin. Books are just starting to roll that out, but the internet's awash with what's essentially screenshots, and as you know, those can be manipulated. Michael Clayton, they say the truth can be adjusted. AI is so real. In fact, that was another question we asked the internet last week, which is we had 4 pictures and we said, which one is AI? Everyone was picking one of the 4. They were all AI. When lined up next to each other, you couldn't even tell the difference. So it's getting a little bit scary. This is TMZ China. This is our fake news outlet. But just like, it took 24 hours to buy the domain, stand it up. This is an AI logo to link it. I was actually pleased that no journalists really picked it up. We tipped some off, not that they would be fooled, but just out of a courtesy, because I didn't want to burn our reputation as, we're a trusted source, and someone picks it up because we're a trusted source. We were supposed to do the vetting. I didn't want that. So I tipped some people off. I was lucky that there was some journalistic diligence going around, because it's a scary world out there, and we need some safeguards in place. Now, somebody like a BR is supposed to be that. The AP itself actually made part of their morning newsletter highlighting how they do their fact checking, why they do their fact checking. It actually turned into a little bit of a holiday educational moment for the public with news agencies on how they do fact checking, why the free press is important, why it's a pillar of our democratic institutions, the same way government's speech, expression, all the things in the Bill of Rights are. Like, we need people like the AP kind of riding people's ass, and we need people like Bleacher Report. Now, my question is, what do they actually do? We have people scrapping in the comments, but is there a way that they could actually come out and verify this? Do they have a mechanism in place, or have they just been posting bet slips every single day without really looking into if someone's doing a Princess Kate, Christmas photo? I think I call this the Princess Kate photo. Remember with her there's extra arms on Archie, and they had the Daily Mail really broke it down. I want to do some sort of Daily Mail breakdown of, I really think that you can start to see where the 2s and I think these are all kind of moved a couple spaces, but I don't want to get into any grassy knoll territory here just yet.
And a long, long time ago, when actually Sports Illustrated was relevant, my dad every Thursday would get his in the mail. and he got duped. This had to be 30 years ago. There was a long story written about a New York Mets pitcher that just walked on, and he was pitching for the Mets scouts with work boots on, and he was clocked at 130 miles an hour. They had never seen anything like it. This guy was the next coming to Sandy Koufax and Pedro Martinez, before Pedro was Pedro, of course. And my father, I got home from school, and he made me read this, and he goes, this guy, even when he slows down in the 6th, 7th inning, he's going to be throwing 100 miles an hour. He's going to be virtually unhittable. So this is a 3-page article. And then when he got to the last paragraph, it was, thank you for reading this article, April Fools. And to that day, my father would never read Sports Illustrated again. He's like,
that's hilarious. Well, he's ahead of the curve because they just went out of business.
Yes.
So which picture is not AI generated? This was a picture that we asked people, and you look closely enough and you start to come up with your own logic. You're like, well, this hair is pretty fine. Well, this eye, or what's unnatural, what's not. People, good people, smart people are all, making, keep in mind, it's a false premise. I posed it where one of these, I said, which one is not? And it's a trick question because all of these are AI generated. And even this guy who prides himself on being able to notice fake images struggled with this batch. He thought both the women's skin looked unnatural, and then at minimum it was Photoshop. And he ended up going with number 2 because the way I posed the question, I said, basically alluded that one of these was not, which picture is not AI generated, but they all are. So it's almost like a Turing test of sorts. And it's getting a little bit scary out there. I don't have all the answers, but reality is definitely being questioned. And I think that BR owes the public a response because the overwhelming majority of the comments is questioning the authenticity of this.
And in today's world, in today's society, in social media, as you said, one got slipped through the 5-hole. They got duped. And now is it their job to say, hey, guys, we made a mistake. We got to do our due diligence better? Or, as you said, 250,000 impressions. Why not keep doing it?
Whoa, that's definitely one interpretation of it, right? Because if I wasn't Bleacher Report, if I was just a startup little account and this was going to be my bread and butter, was putting these stories on blast, hey, 500,000 impressions, okay, that's my account. Why is that any different than any other bot account? I'm actually just going to do these. I might even, get some contractors in the Philippines and give them kind of some of the juiciest outcomes of the day and just have a bunch of them ready to go. And I could tag anonymous bettors. I mean, here they tag this guy, Austin. If I was truly a journalist, I'd do more work to track down Austin. I won't even say his last name in case I'm doxing him. But on Instagram, it's a private account. So we'll see what the fallout is. I'm sure I'm poking the bear now. Maybe BR will DM us. They may be slower to retweet us in the future after this one, but this is the point we're trying to make, is that we're giving people what I feel like is a public service, but what really started as a prank.
I 100% agree. And you don't even have to be a diehard UConn fan, or anyone in our lanes would know, especially myself. We had UConn last year. I think we only got them at about 14, 15 to 1 at one point in the season. I don't even think it was that high. And we played them back with Purdue back. We got, some 6, 7, 8 to 1s on both of them this year. On November 8th, the defending champs, who I think were top 5, if not top 3 preseason, there was no 2200s out there. There were none.
Yeah, so let's look at we got the math to back it up here. So actually, we just built this. This is the Final Four graph. We could talk about this real quick, and then one of our fun traditions that we like to do is kind of put in the journey and watch the teams go to 0, because as we know, there can only be one.
1,000%. And you and I on here almost every Tuesday, or as many Tuesdays as we can, we've been talking about UConn and Purdue. They've been the prohibit favorites for most of the year. They flip-flopped back and forth. Purdue was number 1 for most of the year. UConn in the top 3 or 5, then 1-2, 1-2. The NC State story is just absolutely amazing. They won 5 in a row in the ACC tournament. One game they hit a 3 at the buzzer to go to overtime against Virginia to go on and win. And then they get to the dance. So usually when you got to win 5 in a row to get to the dance, it's like a reprieve. It's like we made it. Our season's over. NC State has taken it to the next level where they've now won 4 in a row. And on our show that we talked about filling out your brackets, one of the things that I said to everyone, how do you play on neutral courts? How do you play on semi-neutral courts? And the big carrot that I said is, how many of your teams that you're looking at have won 6 in a row or can win 6 in a row? Well, this NC State team currently has won 9 in a row.
9 in a row. That's strong. And when we is that your pen that I'm here? Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull up wagerwire.com/graph for people. This is our free graphing site, by the way. I'm on it right now. And what we can do is we can look back at the Elite Eight. Maybe I just built it right here. We can look back at the Elite Eight, Jeff, and watch some teams go nosedive to 0. So let's look at the UConn and I'm blanking on the last game here.
UConn, who did they beat? They beat Illinois.
And Illinois. So there's UConn, my favorite tradition. We're going to watch Illinois. Boom. A little bit more dramatic when you get to watch them first. And then besides UConn, Illinois, we had
Purdue, Tennessee. We had NC State, Duke.
So boom. Okay, 365 down to 0. Then we had Duke. So I just like watching all the money that's left on the table. Duke. So Duke underperformed. Elite Eight, they pop. 157 was their last tally before go to 0. And then we had
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee. That's who Zach had going all the way. So Tennessee, $100 back in November, pops to 251. And we had Auburn, Alabama, right? Or we had Clemson, Alabama.
And then the other one was UNC, Alabama.
UNC, Alabama, right? Sorry. North Carolina. Boom. Again, everyone can do this. Wagerwire.com/graph. So North Carolina was up to 358, down to 0 versus the Crimson Tide. Boom. Interesting. Who else we got? Who else went down?
Clemson made a great run.
Yeah, I was impressed by their run. Whoa. Right. So they popped crazy. 942 down to $0. Houston also took a dive, right?
Yep.
Were you expecting that?
They best defense in the country, or one of the best defenses. I thought offensively they have spurts where they have brain farts. What happened with them, Houston, when they faced Duke, is they lost their best player, Shed, early in the game, and they were only 4-point favorites. It kind of smelt a little to me, and once they lost Shed, they were in trouble, and unfortunately they couldn't get through with their catalyst outplay. I think he missed like the first 10 minutes of the first half, and obviously he was out in the second half, so it was about 30 minutes he was not playing. So Houston was kind of without their floor general, I should say.
So we talked about this narrative, and I'm interested to know if you think it's still in play now that they're against an 11. Purdue losing to a 16 first round last year. Now they come back. Are they going to be able to do what Virginia did? Only other team to lose to a 16.
Well, when we were talking about narratives early in the season, still in 2023, you and I.
Oh wait, I was manipulating graphs that weren't being shown. Actually, I thought you were seeing all the things that I was doing.
I did not.
Oh wow. Okay, here. I was looking at more interesting graphs than you the whole time.
Let's bring her back up.
Let's bring her back up. I had this pulled up. Okay, so we're looking at Purdue now. So this is the odds, which you can toggle to. Bet value, boom. So 412. It's really skyrocketed. You got them at good value. If we switch to the odds charts, you got them around.
I got them right in that 840 range right there.
840 range. And now they're going to go up against NC North Carolina State. And what do you think about the Wolfpack? I mean, they seem like a team that made a good run, but can they look at how that flattens the graph? Because these guys are such crazy long shot odds.
They 9.5 point underdogs right now. And you talk about an inflated number. UConn's 11.5 against Alabama. Books are tired of getting beat up by UConn in the UConn stretch from last year's tournament to this year's. They haven't won by less than 13 points. So I think the public, this will be a pros versus Joes, where I think the pros will have to take the Alabama plus 11.5, 12, and hope that it doesn't get to 13. They lose by 13 or more. As for Purdue, NC State, an amazing story. I think when we go back last year, to UConn of 4, we had 2 5s in there, San Diego State and Miami, and then FAU the 11. Will Cinderella fall? NC State again has won 9 in a row. So they'll be the Cinderella, they'll be the doll in the story. And then comes Alabama, great SEC team. They can shoot the 3 ball, the best in the country. If they get out early, they go, let's say 5 for 6 from 3. They get out to that 15-6 lead. Anything's possible. But Vegas is saying on Monday it's going to be Purdue and UConn.
Vegas is saying Purdue and UConn on Monday, and you agree?
That's what we're hoping for, because we got 2 futures on one on each. So we'll just.
Yeah, right. So because you called it pretty well. So now if you had WagerWire, whoa, this is interesting. If you had WagerWire, what are you doing with these slips? Let's say that you got in at $100. I mean, you got in pretty good. You got in way before Selection Sunday. So let's say you got in around March 2nd for the sake of argument, which I know you got in earlier. But you're holding these 2 tickets. You're up about 4x on UConn. You're up 2.7x on Purdue. Are you trimming any of your positions? Are you taking your $100 off the table, or what would you do?
In my mind, I think UConn will be a short favorite. Again, I don't know what Vegas is thinking, the inflated odds. Purdue was the #1 overall seed in this tournament before they bowed out in the Big Ten, and UConn won the Big East. And so they put them as the #1 overall seed. I think people will laugh when I say this. I think UConn will be as little as 2.5 point favorites. If you watch the Purdue games, because of Zach Edey 7-4, the fouls are just amazing, where the opponents will have 30 fouls against them. Purdue will have 10. So I'm afraid that if this is the matchup and the game is called in Purdue's favor, like a Klingon could get 2 quick fouls in the first 5 minutes. You could have a Caravan. You could have a few others of the UConn team in early foul trouble, which changes the whole game and how you play. So we talked, Travis, about the Virginia team years ago, #1 seed overall in the tournament, loses to a 16 seed, and then come back and win the tournament the next year. We've been talking about that with Purdue for a long time now, for the fact that Edie returned. Matt Painter, Big Ten. But that's where people are like, I can't trust him. I'm not putting any money on him. Well, here they are, 2 wins away from the championship, 1 win away from that magical Monday.
That was the narrative, people. So we can't trust them because they got beat by a 16. But what we said is, I don't know what you call a pattern, but if one team does it and the other team's got a chance to do it, I don't know. We always kind of felt that. I'm sad I didn't jump in when you got the East Coast sports investing community on here. Look at this flip here too. I mean, Purdue was just kind of, people really did count them out until just about now, like you didn't see that real big jump. So interesting. And then Tennessee, of course, was no shot. It's interesting. And then if we go on here, is there anything else in the NBA that's caught your eye right now?
NBA, the Celtics just being the Celtics. I guess here's the buzz. I'm kind of interested to see what your charts look like on Dallas, because they're starting to gain some steam here. It's a perfect time to buy low on Dallas. The wild, wild west, as we like to say. Kyrie and Luka are playing well. Again, they don't play defense. Denver, the returning champs. There's a lot of moving parts out in the West. OKC, Minnesota, KD and the Suns, the Lakers getting in, the Golden State. But keep an eye, everyone watching and listening, on Dallas. Throw a little pizza and beer money. It's a perfect buy low to win the West. And again, what does it do? Hey, you get in, you win a round. We come back here on Tuesday. We see what the value is, and then we talk about the next series. But just keep an eye on the Dallas Mavericks.
So I had this person that thought the Clippers were fading, trying to get rid of their position. Actually, what do you think about the Clippers? We can start to see these momentum lines here now that we're coming down the pipe. Like you said, Dallas. If I could bring it back to just Dallas, they're on an interesting upswing. It seemed like they had kind of bottomed out, and now they're kind of charging up the charts.
They are. And we got a handful of games left in basketball in the NHL. We still got some time. We got some jockeying. Who's in the play-in games? Who's going to face the number 1 seed? I think it's now OKC is the number 1 seed. Denver, the number 2 out west. So again, though, it's the wild, wild west, and it's the Celtics in the East to lose. Whether it's the Bucks, Embiid getting ready to come back for the Sixers. We know about playoff Jimmy Butler and the Heat. You got the Cavaliers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Ooh,
so, but
that is like aggressive jump.
Yeah.
There's just a month ago, there's a ton of value. But not even really. They just went from plus to minus. So then we got the Heat.
Now you did have a minus. I think in all our shows, I've never seen a minus. So the Celtics, look at that, minus. Now they're going to be huge favorites in every series. So if you believe in the Celtics, at least to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you can go and grab them now, and then you can, if you need to, take whoever the opponent is as a hedge threat, quarters, halves.
I like that.
So
you would almost take the Celtics to go all the way and then hedge each series against them?
Yeah, I don't think I'd do it in the first series. I'd take a look at the second series and obviously the third series. We talked, I think, a couple of shows ago, Travis, where I'd said my numbers said they'd be about plus 180 to plus 200 against Denver if Denver got back to the championship. And it's hard to fathom. Denver's 2-0 against the Celtics. They broke the 21-game winning streak at Boston Garden in December. They beat them in Denver, yet the Celtics would be 2-1 against Denver. And in the East, they don't think there's much that can beat the Celtics come in the East. It's only going to be out in the West. See, so there you go, right there. There's your Denver Celtics matchup right there. So it's
See
kind of
against this.
crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, ton of money on the Mavericks still. I mean, ton of opportunity.
And again, all the watching and listeners here that are here every Tuesday with me and Travis, I and you can't thank them enough. We're trying to build something here second to none. We're trying to educate you guys. I know that word value gets thrown out every day in our lanes, and value is only value when you cash a ticket. But what we're trying to educate you guys here is you can set your portfolio up to guarantee profit. And what WagerWire is really trying to do is to get into these sports books. And as I like to poetically say it, where you can turn a ticket into profit before maturity, even if it
Right.
does lose.
Right. Because let's say that Dallas does make a playoff run, like you can guarantee that these aren't going to be the odds at the end of the first round or the end of the second round. So what's really cool about WagerWire is you can trim these positions as you go, which makes Jeff's strategy all the more potent. I mean, just even thinking about like what we use as the $100 kind of standardizer. If you started with $100 and right now you can kind of go season, month, week on these graphs and zoom in and out, we'll eventually be able to do specific date ranges, and then we want you to be able to even zoom in to games and see within quarters and within the live odds movements. So this is just kind of version 1. But so starting about a month ago, if you place that bet, you'd be up $9. But looking at the season, like that $100 bet was pretty much underwater for most of its run if you placed it back in October. I mean, it was bargain basement prices. You could think about this as a 50% off deal if you still thought that they were going to at least get back to the odds that they were at before. And now they're kind of charging back up there too, compared to October. If you still think it's a good team, and actually you've been able to see more of them now, you can get $11 discount to what you were getting in October, and they could still make that crazy run because their odds are still pretty long shot. And like we said with WagerWire, the cool thing is, so you can sell all of your bet or part of your bet. Once we get plugged in with these sports books and we have our first few partners that we're rolling out with. We're also in the daily fantasy space right now on real-time fantasy sports. Next is Better, the amazing app that I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about, and big things from there. But this really changes the game. I mean, you guys buy the bets, you should own them. They're real bets, right? Not like what we saw on Barstool today. You guys have real bets that you put real money on. We want to unlock the power of that. Make it so you don't have to lose if you're, one leg away from hitting that parlay, or if you made that crazy long shot call and your team's in NC State's in the Final Four, you should be able to capture some profit.
No, and that's the big key right there. Again, if we were using the $100 unit size and you got an opportunity to get your $100 back, you can get a little profit and you still can enjoy the ride. We had Martwan on during his run, and we'll be doing a lot more work with Martwan as we get up to speed here. But that's the joy of WagerWire. That's the joy of, hey, I made this wager with conviction, and now let's get my investment back. Let's get a little profit to add to the bankroll, and then to finalize it, let's still enjoy the ride, Travis.
Absolutely, Jeff.
Closing thoughts, Mr. Geiger.
Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. Sink your bets to WagerWire. It's not only the future of betting, but it'll be the future of tout services. There's some people doing good work in the field. Don't mean to call anybody out. Hey, and it's possible that was a real slip and that guy got some fluke odds. We've seen it before. We even called out Hard Rock for some offsides odds. So who's not, I don't want to drag the guy if that was a real slip, but from where we're sitting, it's impossible to verify. And that's the point.
100%. And I'll close with this. During COVID, we were really looking for content, so we had to get outside our comfort zone. And May 1st or May 6th, it was, Caesars had Alex Smith, the quarterback of then Washington coming off that horrific 90 surgeries for his leg at 16-1 as comeback player of the year. And I sent it out to all the ECSI VIPs. And I was like, just put some beer and pizza money on this, because if he ever just steps on the field like DeMar Hamlin ended up doing this year, he will win the comeback player of the year. Sure enough, he did. I posted the ticket and I got crushed by some guy. There was no 16-1s. There was no, because people are looking at September, October, November. And then I had to show him a picture of the ticket. And I was like, here it is, Caesars, May 6th, time stamped 113. And I heard crickets. Not even a great job. I heard crickets. So don't believe the hype, and always, what you read, just take it as a grain of salt, because it is the internet. And today, like you said, with AI, with Photoshop, we just don't know what is fact or fiction most of the time.
No, we don't. It's scary, but we hope to be a trusted source. And I actually didn't really like pulling a fast one on people. It didn't seem good. April Fools ain't what it used to be in the world that we're in. So glad to come on and pull the curtain away here with you.
Well, it was standing room only, as always, on Tuesday morning. If you're new to the channel, jump on over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe, it's free, and turn on the notifications. That's the big thing. Never miss a live show with Travis, Zach, and the rest of the WagerWire crew. Soon to be adding a lot more of the WagerWire team. So with that said, from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only CXO Travis Geiger, co-founder of WagerWire, we wish everyone a blessed morning. Enjoy yourselves. Have some fun. Cash a few tickets, and we will see you soon.